Welcome back to the City Rundown. I was out last week because I was a bit sick, and my entire household was a bit sick, but let's get into it. For the week of February 23rd through the 27th, we have 3 stories from the top of the Panhandle, including one is an update to the Xcel Energy lawsuit that was brought from Ken Paxton's office. The court has granted a temporary injunction over Xcel Energy. We'll get into that. Amarillo College officially has gone into further detail regarding its independent audit, and we talked to a family who unfortunately lost their home in the Ranger Road fire this week. So for our first story today, we have a bit of an update regarding the lawsuit that Paxton had brought against Xcel Energy, or Southwestern Public Service Company. A court has made a temporary injunction in the case, requiring Xcel Energy to take immediate action regarding poles that have been damaged or deappulated, and they are required to make sure that those are replaced and conduct rigorous and large-scale inspections to replace all the utility poles. Again, this was brought after this lawsuit was brought up in December of 2025, at the very end of the year, and it basically launched an investigation into utility companies that were involved in the Smokehouse Creek and Windy Deuce fires in 2024 over the Texas Panhandle. Now, Xcel Energy has said that in August 2025 that it made a commitment to give back money to the people who have made claims. They have made a commitment of $176 million in settlement agreements, and of which $123 million has been paid to claimants. That means 187 as of August of claims, of 253 claims have been paid out. Let's take a quick clip of one of our newscasts to get a better understanding of the full lawsuit.
Almost 2 years after the Smokehouse Creek fire burned over 1 million acres across the Texas Panhandle, a Hemphill County District Court judge issued a temporary injunction in the lawsuit filed against Xcel Energy by Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. Thank you for joining us. Clint has the evening off. The latest on the lawsuit is first on Fox, part of our Democracy 2026 coverage tonight. A temporary injunction requiring Xcel Energy to take immediate action to replace damaged and debilitated utility poles, conduct rigorous large-scale inspections, and replace utility poles that pose an unreasonable risk of causing additional wildfires in the Texas Panhandle. In a statement, Attorney General Ken Paxton assured the injunction is critical for protecting the safety and livelihood of Texans, saying in part, quote, "This win is the first part of holding Xcel accountable and ensuring preventative measures are being taken as the case continues to move forward." Paxton went on to say that Xcel made the right decision in working with his office and taking these steps, saying, quote, "The Smokehouse Creek fire caused devastation throughout the Texas Panhandle, and I will continue to fight to ensure that justice is served and that wildfires will no longer be sparked by the negligence of a utility provider." Paxton filed a lawsuit against Xcel in December 2025 after launching an investigation against the company in August of 2025. Since Paxton announced the investigation and lawsuit, Xcel has maintained they were willing to work with the AG's office. After the announcement of today's injunction, Xcel assured they were pleased with the productive conversations and that the agreement tracks with pole replacement procedures implemented after the Smokehouse Creek fire, saying in part, quote, "We'll continue working with the state of Texas as we focus on the wildfire mitigation work to help keep the public safe." Today, we also received an update on claims related to the Smokehouse Creek fire. As of February 5th, Xcel says of the $382 million committed in finalized settlement agreements, $374 million has been paid through quarter 4, adding that they have resolved 222 claims through the claims process, resolved 79 claims presented through mediation, and have had 22 lawsuits settled or dismissed. To read more about the injunction as well as our previous coverage, go to myhighplains.com.
And as you can see there, we did get an update for how many claims have been paid out to those who have made claims, and it was 222. We have a full story on myhighplains.com with also previous coverage regarding the lawsuit, and also full coverage of the Smokehouse Creek and Windy Deuce fires and the rest of the fires from that year. Looking at our next story, we have a bit of an update regarding Emerald College and the independent audit. They announced that an independent audit was set to be done regarding some financial situations, and it was a forensic audit and conducted by a outside agency, accounting firm, excuse me. We have some findings from the meeting in which they explained, including that all funds are accounted for, no funds were found to be missing, no payments were found to be made to unknown vendors, the bond program projects cost more than anticipated, the scope of these construction projects expanded over time, construction management costs were more than anticipated because the master program plan manager contract was renegotiated and increased without the approval of the Board of Regents. Cost increases, the expanded scope of projects, and the renegotiation of the master program plan manager contract were not adequately communicated to the Board of Regents. These increased expenses were paid primarily out of Emerald College unrestricted funds, and the payment of these costs out of the unrestricted funds were not adequately and timely reported to the Board of Regents. So that was the finding of the audit that the accounting firm found and presented during the meeting that we attended. Let's take a look at one of our EV newscasts to get a better understanding about the full scope of the audit.
The Amarillo College Board of Regents learned more information and details regarding a forensic audit that was conducted by Weaver, a national accounting firm. In that meeting, the board focused mainly on two parts of the audit regarding construction management costs being more than anticipated and cost increases, the expanded scope of projects, and the renegotiation of the master program plan manager contract not being adequately communicated to the Board of Regents. The board spoke on how to make sure that something like this doesn't happen again.
Thing that you heard in there and that we've already started talking about was perhaps getting an internal auditor, having some sort of internal audit function that reports directly to the board so that we don't have this happen again.
Mark White, AC's Executive Vice President and General Counsel, was asked during the board meeting if legal action was being considered, and he said perhaps adding the board would need to discuss all of their options. To see our previous reporting on this audit, as well as a response from the VP of Business Affairs at the time, who later resigned, head on over to our website, myhighplains.com.
We do have a full story on myhighplains.com regarding how it got to this point of the independent audit, and also what the independent audit means moving forward. For our last story today, we're looking at a family that we talked to in Beaver County, Oklahoma, that lost their home in the Ranger Road fire. They are Traylon and Lacey Bond, and they also said that at least 2 other families in the area also lost their homes, and cleanup efforts are ongoing. Rebuilding will take time, and the couple said the support that they have received has strengthened their resolve. Let's take a short look at a clip from talking to that family.
Families impacted by the Ranger Road fire are now beginning the long road to recovery.
Thank you for joining us. Fox 14's Blas Guerrero has more on how one couple says they had only minutes to react as flames closed in on their home. That story is first on Fox Tonight.
For Traylon and Lacey Bond, the day of the fire started like any other. Traylon had taken his dog to the vet that morning and was checking gas wells and cattle when he heard the fire was spreading fast. Lacey already seen evacuation posts circulating online and left work early to head home.
I run inside, I grab the 2 dogs that were still there and the cat, get in my car, and I drive out in the wheat field. I sit out there for 30, 40 minutes maybe, and everything just got super bright white out of nowhere.
She hoped it would be one of the safest places if the flames reached their property. However, the wind shifted, pushing the fire straight towards their home.
I look to the west and I see pretty much fire tornadoes flying at me through the wheat field, and I called Traylon, I called the fire department, and they couldn't send nobody, they couldn't do anything, so I just booked it out of there the best I could.
The couple say they had no direct warning, relying mostly on word of mouth and social media updates. When they returned, there was little left to save.
We're moving into that house that we have there in Laverne that we were fortunate enough to have, and we're going to keep moving forward, see if we can't clean up out there. It's pretty sentimental to the family. There was a lot of stuff up there that was stuff of my late mother's.
While they lost everything, they're grateful their animals survived and no one was hurt. They say support has come from neighbors and even people in other states donating clothing, hay, and financial assistance. The bonds say fencing supplies and monetary donations are especially needed as ranchers across the area work to recover. They say their focus is on rebuilding and helping neighbors who are starting over. Live in the studio, Blas Guerrero, Fox 14 News, Maya Clint.
Blas, thank you. The bonds say at least 2 other families nearby also lost their homes in the fire.
They say recovery efforts are expected to continue in the weeks ahead.
And again, we have a full story at myheadlines.com regarding the Rancher Road fire and that family that we talked to. Let's take a short break and we'll be right back. And welcome back to the City Rundown. We are going to look at our Panhandle Planner for the week and our Route 66 Rewind. So our Panhandle Planner for the week of March 2nd through the 6th. Tuesday is our March primary class across Texas, so make sure you go and vote. And the Amarillo Area Foundation scholarship applications are due on March 6th. Some fun little story that we found this week is from 1929. The Girl Scouts camp in Amarillo were set to have improvements on the William Bush Ranch. It was the start of a great camp. Looking at our weather watch this week from Chief Meteorologist John Harris, we're ending February with warm weather, but beginning with March, we might have a bit of a cool down and possible showers. And that's it for this week for Yellow City Rundown. Excuse my coughiness, but we will see you back next week.